wanna go, it's my life. Wherever I wanna be. Yo, what up? It's my life. I'm here in the van, as you can see. We've got the Led Zeppelin posters and so forth. This one says, "Eat Me." We're here in the van on a Monday afternoon, ready to bring you some more of what you want, which is strange mannerisms, odd sayings, wisdom being dispensed. And what better place to do it from than the van? The van is where you can be free in all ways. The van is where you can feel sort of like a knight, a medieval knight in full plate armor. And nothing can harm you inside the van. Now, as you can see, I have this injury on my head. This injury was sustained outside of the van, not in the van. And yeah, I fell off of my fucking skateboard and did a face plant, or rather a head plant into the asphalt, and heard a sickening crunch. I saw stars, much like the cartoons. You know, where they get the fucking cartoon hits his head and he sees like birds flying around. So that's real. That's actually real. When you do a face plant into the asphalt, I probably have a mild concussion, no neurological damage. I can assure you that there is no significant neurological damage that would prevent me from continuing to dispense the unmitigated wisdom and truth to you. But it fucking kind of hurts, and it's kind of ugly. So we'll just leave that on for the time being. But yeah, here in the van, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors. It's the only way to live in van. I've got this other situation I've been doing here. This is on the door. We're doing a sort of shattered mirror mosaic thing here to give a sort of a illusion of depth. Yeah, an illusion of depth. So, anywho, rub the wound on the van, he says. Rub the wound on the van. No, I'm not going to do that. The wound is quite painful, and the last thing I want to do to it is rub it on fucking metal. So I won't be doing that, unfortunately. However, any inquiries here? Now, this guy says, what is superior, inner work or outer work? In other words, what's more important, technique or the ability to identify and remove inhibitions that prevent you from expressing yourself freely? That is a trick question. They're equally important. They are equally important. So this is something that and previously I found most so-called inner game work that I've been exposed to, and I've seen it all over the past like 19 years I've been doing this. I find the vast majority of this so-called inner game work to be barely more than a collection of fascinating abstractions. Fascinating abstractions that aren't really pragmatically concerned with reality, right? So, they'll be like again, when I would see people who had issues that were causing them to be stifled and have a bad vibe in the field, so to speak, even with experienced teachers such as myself, I find the feedback is very subjective and vague. It's very, very subjective and vague. And, you'll hear things like, be less, you're stifled, or I want to see bigger energy, or even smile more. But they can intellectually understand these instructions, but on the one hand, the inhibitions are far deeper, and they're likely not going to be able to get around them. And then in the case of vague, like I want to see more energy, go up with bigger emotional color. That's not helping them. It's just giving them, all it's doing is making them feel more judged in the moment, which caused most of these inhibitions in the first place. And at the same time, it's not giving them any sort of clear descriptive means of making the desired change. So again, the big part of my work in the past couple of years with the whole charisma mastery stuff was to get very, very specific about these criticisms and change the way that these criticisms were verbalized, and make them more descriptive in order to make that change available to you, make the desired change available to you. Because again, I think a lot of times this so-called inner game work you hear talked about, it's like these philosophical thought experiments that don't actually improve anything. So I wanted to develop a very pragmatic exercise process that would allow people to actually improve in that area, not just like, again, traffic in this fucking Byzantine labyrinth of like feel-good platitudes that constitute so much of so-called inner game instruction these days. But, you know, as to whether one or more is more important, one is more important than the other, no, they're absolutely, you absolutely need technique if you want to be successful. You absolutely 100% need technique. And you also need the proper inner game. You need to do that proper inner game work to identify the various inhibitions that are surrounding charismatic expression, so you can go up and you can vibe properly, so they'll even pay attention to you, right? So they will pay attention to you. All the technique in the world, all the so-called outer game in the world isn't going to fucking help you a lick if you can't make them look here. And they will not look here unless you've done the inner game work to, again, diagnose, pinpoint, and start to release the various entanglements, you might call them, tensions, inhibitions around emotional expression. Until that step is taken care of, you're just going to go up and you're going to be like repulsive. Your vibe will be repulsive. It will be maybe sort of aggro, sort of off in a weird way. Or more likely, what I see the most of the time is you just have no vibe whatsoever. You're like inert. They're basically like this inert piece of furniture that goes up and like, hey, what's up? It's like a nothing. They just get ignored. So yes, absolutely, you need to understand that horizontal plot development. Like, look, if you want to have a boring conversation with the cashier at the coffee shop, that does not require technique. That doesn't require outer game, quote unquote. To be like, hi, I would like a latte, please. Tall macchiato. My name is Jeff. Here is the money. Oh, thank you. Have a good day. Right? That does not require special technique. But if you want to learn how to sell and close sales, if you want to learn high-level negotiation, if you want to learn how to pitch, if you want to learn how to navigate conflict, if you want to learn how to get romantic with somebody you just met, these are not the types of interactions that most people have on a regular basis, right? These types of interactions require skill, they require technique, they require precision, they require practice, they require control. Absolutely. But point being, if you don't have that inner stuff dialed and you're not able to express yourself fully in a charismatic way, in order to execute that technique, they're not even going to pay attention to you. So it's absolutely essential that you need both. And again, this is why I created the whole charisma mastery stuff. You know, I do mentoring in a small group, an 8-week program. I'm also, but again, that has to be supplemented with actual performance. So there's a difference between exercise and performance. The stuff that we do in the mentoring is designed to, again, diagnose and release inhibitions surrounding facial expression, surrounding vocal tonality, surrounding body language, surrounding access to intuitive energies, to make those an increasingly useful resource for you so you can just talk and never run out of things to say. That's the stuff that we do in the mentoring, right? You know, that's exercise. But there's a difference between exercise and performance. You know what I'm saying? A big difference between exercise and performance. In exercise, again, we're trying to pinpoint, diagnose where these inhibitions are, start to release them, expand your range so you never have to approach the limits, okay? That's what we do there. But then going out and applying that in actual in the much more inhibitory circumstances of actual social interactions, that's a different animal. You know, in exercise, you practice what you can't do. In performance, you allow what you can when necessary, and, you know, dictated by the context of the situation. So that's why, again, I always say the mentoring and the in-field trainings go hand in hand. Very often, students who are at the end of the boot camp program, I'll tell them, you need to get on the mentoring because you're quite inexpressive. That's going to help you tremendously. And then vice versa. Usually that's the pipeline. It's guys who came on in-field program who were very inexpressive, and this kind of affected their results. And I said, we need to dig into this vibe stuff so you can actually be effective. right? So that's a lot of those guys, they come from boot camp onto the mentoring. But the opposite happens as well. Sometimes you get guys who are on the, some client who's on the mentoring. He's like, you know what, now I want to kind of put this into practice. I want to do the infield stuff. And it's often a bit of a rude awakening, because now it's like, yeah, we did this in the lab, but now you got to go out and like actually perform in front of a live studio audience, so to speak. And it's quite different. I'm also not as nice on the, to be fair though, I do want the programs to have like this non-judgmental air about them. I want the programs to have an easy going, like even the boot camps, which again, I'm doing tons of these. I put tons of these up on the schedule when we were at Summit a couple weeks ago. So I'm doing next week, not this week, next week I'm doing Las Vegas. I'm going to be in San Diego, Los Angeles, Chicago, Atlanta, doing a Mardi Gras one in New Orleans, actually, a 5-day Mardi Gras boot camp, which should be just a ball and a hell of a time. But anyway, if you wanted to sign up for that stuff, you go to jeffyinperson.com. Jeffyinperson.com. That's the event list will be there if you actually wanted to sign up on this stuff. So, but yeah, I'm a much more kind of enthusiastic about getting guys to take action, let's just say, on the live programs. But by the same token, I want there to be like a feeling of creativity, a feeling of play, like sort of a lighthearted, warm feel. Even though it is called the so-called boot camp, I want it to be suffused with thoughtfulness, with play, with respect. Really have it truly be a non-judgmental environment. Right? Because look, dating in particular is very prone to judgment because it's so results oriented. It's if they liked it, it worked. If they didn't like it, it didn't work. Well, we have to go beyond that. I as a coach have to create a space, a non-judgmental creative space where you can, and you inside yourself have to create that space inside yourself where you can make the jump into, beyond fear. You can make the leap through fear into that unknown where all growth happens. You have to use I only have 2 rules on boot camp. Number 1, never be careful. Number 2, go too far. Never be careful, go too far. And this doesn't mean that you're going to do intentional damage to yourself or other people. It just means go too far. Use your energies in a way that you never have before. Explore, try something different. Find out what works. Don't look at how you'd like this stuff to work. Look at how it actually works. This is something I'm always saying to the clients. Look at what actually works. Don't look at how you'd like it to work. Because so many guys, they're out there and they're doing this, that, and the next thing. They're like, well, this isn't behaving in the way that you're suggesting isn't me. Well, too fucking bad. Because what you're doing, it just doesn't work. I've been doing this for 20 years. If what you're doing, going up and going, what's up, with like this inexpressive face, if that worked, I would do that. I'm not vested. I don't have some vested interest in having this, ebullient personality or anything like that. If being like this milquitoast sort of unevocative person, if that worked, I would do that. I'd be the best at it. Right? Like I said, I traffic in reality. I do not traffic in fantasy. I've been doing this 20 years. And this is a fact. I am definitely, I don't know, this for certain, but I'm definitely in the top 5 most experienced coaches on the planet in this stuff. That's not hyperbole. That's just factual. That is just simple facts. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing this. Why? Because I love the results. I know the result. And I love the result. Lord knows how long I'll continue doing this. As you can see, I have a propensity to injure myself with stupidity, falling off a skateboard, some 45-year-old man, face planting into the fucking asphalt, cracking his head off the pavement. Damn, dude, I'm stupid enough already. I don't have the neurons for this. Anyway, if anyone's got any sort of like neuroprotective formulas or something like that, you could drop in the chat here. I've been taking chaga, mushrooms, cordyceps, and various things. Yeah, how do you do, fellow kids? How do you do, fellow kids? Yeah, I got this Chinese skateboard, this electrical skateboard, and it goes very fast. It does about 30 miles an hour. And optimal brain lines, man. Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I know about those things. Just anything else you can add that would be helpful to regain brain function. Kind of looks like Nelly. After this, I asked myself the questions that I would typically ask somebody if I suspected that they had a traumatic brain injury. To ensure that they weren't about to stroke out, I asked myself, okay, who is the president? What year is it? What's your birth date? How many quarters are in a dollar? Where do you live? What's your address? What's your phone number, et cetera, et cetera. And I was able to answer them quite quickly. I noticed that my pupils were the same size. That's another danger sign if you got one pupil larger than the other. No vision problems, no balance problems. My head just fucking hurts. Yeah, just the head fucking hurts, and there's like a big welt, like a. But again, Lord knows how long I'll be doing these things. I do have programs scheduled out through next July. I'm even going to be going to Calgary, Alberta for the Stampede. It's going to be some good times. But yeah, I mean, I'm doing this for the foreseeable future. If you go to jeffyinperson.com, you can sign up for one of these programs. This might be the last time that I'm doing them. If it was ever been, as Owen says, if it's ever been on your bucket list to hit the field with me, go to jeffyinperson.com. You didn't black out when you hit your head like I did. No, I did not. I didn't, but I couldn't see straight for like 5 seconds. It was very unpleasant. The worst part was the noise. Like the sound when my head, because literally like I just face planted right into it. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So let's have a look at the chat here. Chat viewing options. Looks like let's see what we got here. Magic mushrooms. Legendary event itself. Helmet. Yeah, that's the thing. You can't really wear a helmet. It doesn't look cool. Oh shit. The van, blah blah blah. Yeah, it feels like 2011. The thing about this van, this was given to me by a fan on Instagram after he saw me talking about how the previous van had died. He was basically he hit me up on Instagram. He said, "Yo, I saw your video. You said your van had died. I got a van a couple years ago in an attempt to recreate your guys' weird adventures, inspired by you. It didn't really work out for me. And now it's basically sitting in my parents' driveway. They fucking hate it. I was going to sell it on Craigslist, but I decided after seeing your video, I'd like to give this van to you." And I'm like, "Sure, I'll tell you what, how about this? You drive it up from Southern California. I'll pay for your gas, your flight back. I'll put you on a boot camp for free." And he's like, "Sure, done deal." He came up here next week. And this shit, it was not cool like this. It had basically, he had the walls were bare, and he had a blow up camping mattress on the ground. I'm like, what the fuck? No wonder you didn't have success. What the hell is this? This is what you were repping? He's like, "Oh yeah. He's like, "I put insulation in it. I spent 4 days putting insulation in it." It's like, wow. 4 days putting insulation in it. Why? He's like, "I watched these van life videos. They all said it needed to be insulated." It's like, we never did that shit. We were trying to get ass. We never cared about any insulation or anything like that. But okay. And then I already had all this crap prepared for his drive. A lot of this is from the old van, and we just started throwing it in. The furry rugs, the bed frame, this thing. It's called Vivid Image. See, Vivid Image. For those who like cat, right? We started putting all the shit in, putting these posters up. It took about an hour, and he's like, "So wait a minute, this is all I had to do the entire time?" Yeah, an hour of work and $100 of shit from Amazon, and no wonder. And he's like, "Yeah, LOL." Whoops. He's like, I almost don't want to give it to you now. I'm like, well, it's too late. It's mine now, bitch. So yeah, the van is now, we have, the number is at 2. The number starts over from 0. The previous had 121 unique visitors served. And we have restarted the count. This is a new van. This ain't the fucking ship of Theseus. New vehicle, new count. And so we are now at 2 and counting. We're at 2 and counting. So it's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful day. It's beautiful. As you can see, we've got good old Jimi Hendrix here. We got the street behind me. These windows are tinted. They can't see inside. We're safe here. We're safe from these people. And, you know, our lives will never be the same here in the van. Here in the van, I feel safest of all. I can lock all my doors. It's the only way to live in vans. One van to rule them all. So, anyway, if anyone's got a question here, I just wanted to do a quick live from the van, you know, to kind of give you guys a feel for what goes on here. However, like I said, I'm probably going to drive this down to San Diego and Los Angeles in a couple weeks when I go down there for a program. So the people who take those programs will also have the opportunity to make a new friend and take them to the van and possibly have an unwanted pregnancy. So I'm going to drive down for those programs next month. Like I said, I'm going to be in San Diego, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, back in San Francisco here. I'm doing programs. I'm running these programs. These are pretty intimate programs too. These aren't like these 25-person programs that some of these coaches are running. I keep it really small. You know, there'll be like 5 people on the program, maybe like 8 tops, you know. So it's very intimate, very small. Again, I've been doing this for 20 years. If you ever want to hit the field with me, go to jeffyinperson.com and you can apply to be on one of my last programs. We've been having a lot of success. This past weekend, I had 2 clients actually get success in the night on the last day from the park. Actually pulled from the park. Is there something you'd love to be able to do in the van but can't? Like cook up some chicken? No, there's only a couple things that you do in the van. There is, you know, because people have said things like, oh, you should get karaoke in the van. You should get a little hot plate in the van, you know, this, that, the next thing. It's like, no, there's only like a select few activities that are done in the van. You can sleep in the van. You can have sex in the van. You can vomit out the side of the van, sliding door into the gutter on Thanksgiving after you've drank too much Four Loko, original version. But that's about it. You know, there is not like, you know, a Nintendo Switch in here. It's like you just straight, you get her done. You get it on. You know, maybe you can hang out and rest if you're at a festival or something. You can have a rest. Perhaps take a load off. But, okay, this is interesting. I can't deal with guys who are aggressive or act obnoxious without losing my fun, flirtatious frame with a girl. I have fear when it comes to confrontation. Well, I think that to be confident in any situation, you need a couple different things. Number one, you need to have a sense of commitment to what you're doing. So if you are not committed to succeeding in whatever interaction it is, yeah, as soon as some random dude comes in, you're just gonna fucking blow away like a leaf in the wind. You're gonna be blown away like a bowling pin. And you're just gonna, as soon as they get the other person's attention, you're just gonna like, bye-bye, like wade off into the mist, and you're done. So you have to have commitment. Like I want this to happen. I don't care what obstacles stand in my way, come hell or high water. Then secondly, so you need commitment. Secondly, you need a sense of control. You need to have a sense of control. Now, when most people experience a confrontational situation, they lose control, meaning they go to a script. Our responses to conflict are scripted, subconscious, and exist for the good of the group. They don't exist for your good per se. They exist for societal coherence, right? So again, what is the typical response to some guy drunkenly getting in another guy's face at the nightclub. Well, that's what we call the monkey dance, right? The human thought is thrown out the window. It's the same every single time. They will square up. They will begin to hurl insults at each other. They will then close distance. They may bump each other's chest. They may push each other back and forth. At a certain point, the guy might poke a finger into the other guy's chest. Again, the verbals are still going on here. Now, at this point, if one guy apologizes and backs down, it's over. Right? It's over. The other guy's established dominance, and they can coexist in the same spot. What they're really hoping for, both of them, is that the friends will separate them. So then they can, again, even with that, they can then both coexist in the same space because they stepped up and they, showed their willingness to defend their own honor or respect or whatever. However, if neither of those things happen and it continues to escalate, then what happens? One guy will either touch the other guy's face, maybe knock his hat off, and then, of course, comes the looping wild overhand rights. And then, possibly they're separated by, the staff and someone is, removed or whatever. But that happens every single time. That happens that is what happens. It's called the monkey dance for a reason. Look, when you see these two guys squaring up like this in the bar, they're not trying to actually hurt each other. Much in the same way you see two, elk ramming each other with their antlers during mating season. They're not trying to commit serious violence against each other. Most people, they don't believe, most people are not going to die from a bar fight. Yes, there are outliers, like the guy cracks his head on the concrete. Like this, or he hits his head on a chair on the way down, or the other guy just gets a lucky punch. But for the vast majority of people, the only real bruising, there's going to be bruising, there's going to be like ego bruising. It's intended to maintain social coherence. But here's the thing. Most people go into that script without even being aware of it. When someone insults you, straight to anger. You don't even need to think about it. For most people, straight to anger, especially if there's been alcohol involved. I had to learn how to not go to that place simply because I was working. Like back in the day, I was a little pissant, like a little hellion. I would do all kinds of awful things. I would urinate on a person in the bar if they annoyed me. I would quite easily, commit serious violence against someone or, have it committed on me. Like I really didn't care. But the problem was, then I started running professional programs. And you imagine this? So Bill, how was your boot camp? How was your boot camp, Bill? Oh, the instructor got in a fight and we got kicked out. It's like, what? It's not very professional. So I had to learn how to defuse these things and not go into the so-called monkey dance and use my human brain, stay on the human brain to actually win, right? Because when you stay on the human brain, now you have the ability to manipulate the situation to your actual benefit, to the thing where even the other person feels like they won as well and everyone can leave, but you actually won. Right? So you need to learn how to recognize scripts that are typically subconscious. Make yourself step off of those scripts if those scripts end in a bad place. This is basically, in the mentoring, I have an entire module devoted to conflict communication. And because I find it utterly fascinating and just interestingly enough, I had to learn how to navigate that in a successful way. So, that's a great question, but you need, again, to be confident in those situations going forward. Number one, you need to be committed to the outcome of what you're trying to do. And number two, you need to develop a sense of control that's going to give you the ability to again, wade into those interactions. Another really great resource on that is, what is that book called? Crucial Conversations. That talks about conflict situations that aren't even necessarily like the bar kind where there's a potential physical element, but even just like the boss cussing you out, like a corporate beatdown. How to navigate the corporate beatdown, or a bully at work, or just like just an unpleasant situation with a flatmate or something like that. It can be very, very useful. But anyway, again, the best way to learn about this stuff is dealing with the energies directly. And that means actually going out. Because this is another thing. I see people on these boot camps all the time. They're like, I've been watching you for years, but this is going to be my first time actually doing it. It's like, what? No. Well, I mean, you're here now, so I guess it's better than nothing. But it's like, you got to hit the field. Practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. Practice makes permanent. If you go out and stand against the wall and do nothing, or if you go out and you do dumb shit and you just keep repeating it, you're not going to get much better. Right? Your time is valuable. Don't be arrogant. Learn from professionals. Learn from somebody who's been doing this for 20 years. Go to jeffyinperson.com. If you feel that associating with me on one of these programs will be beneficial to you, go to jeffyinperson.com. Put the info in and join me out in the field. Change your life. It'll literally change your life. Because going forward, you will, number one, you will be oriented in the proper direction. You will have things you were doing poorly brought to your attention, things you're doing well brought to your attention. And you'll have an understanding of, perhaps most importantly, you'll have a very clear understanding of the steps of these kinds of interactions. Like, how many times have you ever felt like, oh, it's going good. It's going good. The interaction's going good. Golly, I hope it works out. What do I do now? I don't know, but I hope it works out. It's going good. They like me. Guess what? The situation will never resolve itself to your satisfaction of its own accord. That's where you're like, oh, it seems like it's going good. She likes me. I hope it works out. It's not going to work out. You need to know. And again, every student leaving my program for the rest of their life, when they're in an interaction, they'll be like, okay, I'm on step 2. I need to get to step 3. What are the behaviors that I need to exhibit? What are the actions I need to take? Let's do that and move it forward, right? So an orientation, massive boost of momentum, jeffyinperson.com. Again, if you feel like if you see the value in associating with me on one of these programs, check it out. I'll see you soon. If not, you can go fuck yourself. You're an idiot. You're an imbecile, and you deserve to wallow in shame, despair, self-deceit, loneliness. Quite frankly, don't be arrogant about your time. I practice what I preach. I spend $20,000 a year roughly on personal development in other areas aside from this. Cussed out by Jeff, just like the good old days. If somebody were to take multiple games, it's best to have different instructors every time, the same one every time. It just basically comes, it depends upon who you vibe with. Like for me, like I said, I'm a bit intense, but my boot camps are very, like people have described them as very like fun, right? Like I want, because again, in order to be successful, you have to bring fun. If it's just some guy fucking yelling at you, and yeah, I will yell at you probably, but if that's all it is, just some like bully trying to bully you into being cool, it's like, that doesn't work, because then you're going to go up all aggro and weird. Again, I want there to be this sense of creativity, of play, of respect, of thoughtfulness, of non-judgment, where again, you can make that leap through the unknown. Make that leap through the fear into that unknown place that you're unfamiliar with, where all learning happens, right? Yes, you can improve your charisma. You can improve your skills in this area. I'm fucking living proof. Thousands and thousands of clients I've coached are living proof. But, in order to do that, it demands that you understand and act upon a variety of things. Number one, you need to understand clearly in your mind, envision what your life looks like when you become charismatic. What is the charismatic vision for your life? What do you want to achieve? What does it look like with your friends? What does it look like at work? What does it look like with your family? What does it look like with strangers you meet? What does it look like with someone you're trying to get romantic with or date? What does that look like? What is the charismatic vision you have for your life? Number two, what are the demands that are going to be put upon you? Like sober, clear-eyed, what are the demands that are going to be put upon me by the types of interactions I want to have? Because again, if you expect to get romantic with someone you just met consistently, there's very specific demands that are going to be put upon you there. And you can't just roll up and say, what's up? What's up? And then ask a series of boring interview questions. It's not going to cut the mustard, son. You need to understand the conventions, the agreements of those types of interactions. What are the demands that are going to be put upon you? Okay, let's rise to those demands. Number three, what are the societal conditions that in which you're attempting to have these results? Number four, how gain a deep understanding of how your negative social counter conditioning is inhibiting you and preventing you from being charismatic, preventing you from being charming and magnetic and all of that great stuff. And then number 5, what is to be done about all this? And I guess that's where the rubber meets the road. You know, I can provide you with an outline and a very, again, pragmatic exercise process that gives you the power back and allows you to take control of your development in these areas for the rest of your life. I'm a big believer in full spectrum experience. Full spectrum experience. Full spectrum communication. The idea of full spectrum experience is integral to what I teach. It's integral to charisma mastery. What is that? A full spectrum communicator is somebody who is aware of and can make choices and express themselves on a wide variety of energy spectrum, right? Vocal, emotional, physical, mental, spiritual even, right? Gaining an understanding of the many components. Because look, if you want to just have, again, normal interactions and have like normal talk with normal people, like talk to your neighbor when you're bringing the trash in, again, you don't need special training for that. Maybe some of you do. But, you know, if you want to be a very, very so-called high-level communicator, then it would stand to reason that you'd want to investigate every variable that goes into that type of communication, wouldn't it? But, you know, very few people do. They just want to get a couple tricks under their sleeve. But look, again, I have the damn Rosetta Stone to this shit. Okay? I got the Rosetta Stone. I can teach this to you. I can teach this to you, quite frankly, for a price that is almost criminally cheap. Criminal to me. I should be charging a lot more for this shit. At least that's what the sales guys keep telling me. But it's like, dude, I haven't raised price on my program since, I mean, out of all the people in the company, I think my boot camp's the lowest, and it has the most attention because it's like the least packed. You know, I actually show up. It's not just my assistants running it, like many of these, you know, these contemporaries are doing. But again, go to jeffyinperson.com if you want to see my schedule and possibly join me on one of these wonderful infield trainings. Anywho, this has been wonderful. I've been doing this for about 40 minutes. I'm going to go back inside. I do have, I believe, the instructor call so if you got any messages you want me to convey to Tyler, you can drop it here and I'll let him know. Let him know you care. Okay? Okay. Go to jeffyinperson.com. And I'll drop a link in the description here as well so you can check it out if you so desire. And Toiler awaits. All right, fellas, I'll be back with another live, maybe from the van. I enjoy doing this in here. It's very exciting for me. And I'll see you next time. Like and subscribe, all that good stuff. It does really, really help the channel, so I'd appreciate it. And I'll see you soon, mon ami.